Welcome to lesson 6.1 in Linguistics 360. We'll be looking at non-UTF-8 encoding, character encoding. So let me jump over here. So the objective of this lesson is that students will be capable of reading in files with character encodings other than UTF-8. Now, if you've never heard of that, you don't know what a character encoding is, you've never heard of UTF-8 or anything else, what happens is computers actually talk to each other in bytes and bits. And so the text that we read in English is actually is rendered by bytes. It has bytes behind it. And so the character encoding is how to map those bytes to the actual text that we're reading in English. And unfortunately, there's quite a few different character encodings out there. And so let's take a quick second to talk about the history of character encodings. The ASCII range of characters, ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Exchange, and it dates from the 1960s and is English-centric, meaning it was made for English, and so that's why it can't support like accented characters and Chinese characters or Arabic or Greek characters or Thai, right? So here's a Wikipedia article about ASCII there. Unicode dates from the late 1980s and is intended to be an international multilingual text character encoding system. The term or the name Unicode is intended to suggest a unique, unified, universal encoding. And that comes from this Wikipedia article about Unicode. Okay. So if you'd like to skim this, you can do so. There's a good video here. The first 9 minutes are the most applicable or most important for this lesson. And he talks, this is from PyCon, which is a Python conference. He talks about ASCII and how Unicode is useful for dealing with different character scripts. Okay, so I encourage you to look at that. First 10 minutes or first 9 minutes or so are the most useful for this lesson. Okay, so there are several main encodings. UTF-8 is the most popular one today, at least since 2008, according to that Wikipedia article about Unicode. There's also UTF-16 that you may see. You may come across Windows 1252, right? And so just to take a quick second to show you what I'm talking about, if I go to, for example, if I go to English corpora.org, and these are created by a former professor, and look at the corpus of contemporary American English, and look at the character encoding of this webpage. I go to view source and look for the character encoding. You can see here it says char set Windows 1252 on line 20 of this HTML code. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about, okay, this page is encoded in this character set, and so I need to render it this way to make it come out correctly. You may see ISO 8859-1, also called Latin 1, and there are many others. And so here I have a link to some documentation on python.org about many other character encodings, codecs. So for example, Big 5 is often used for traditional Chinese. CP 437, actually give you some files in homework assignments where you have to specify that encoding to make the files render correctly. And we have all sorts of different encoding schemes, different codecs or character encodings. Here's Latin 1, like I mentioned. If you may find some Arabic in this one here, Nordic languages. So there are quite a few. You can see this list is pretty big. UTF-8 is the most common today. These are aliases. So unfortunately, not everyone is on the UTF-8 bandwagon, even though UTF-8 can properly render all scripts of all languages, whatever alphabet or whatever script they use. Chinese, Arabic, Thai, Greek, English, and other Romanized alphabet languages. Okay. So to practice this, you're going to use the char.det module, which is a module you need to add into Python. It doesn't already come with Python. You have to go and install it on your hard drive, and then you can use the detect function within that module. So we're going to use the detect function in the char.det module because it makes a guess about the character encoding of a file. Okay, so it says, I think the coding is this, and then you can use that little encoding that it thinks it is to try and read it in a file and see if it parses correctly. It takes as input, this function, detect takes as input bytes. So you have to call open with the argument mode equals RB, which means read bytes, that you then pass into the detect function. And I'll show you in a second how to do that. Okay, so the module also comes with a command line tool that you can use if you know how to use command line tools from a terminal window or a command line prompt. Okay, if you don't know what a command line prompt is or a terminal window, we'll just use this this function in the module. Okay, so to practice this idea of reading in text files that have different encodings, I've created a zip file with 7 TXT files, each with a different language, with a different encoding, a different character encoding. I purposely made each one different for this purpose. And so go to the CMS and get the sample.text.zip file. And when you have it on your hard drive and you unzip it, you'll need to decompress it or unzip it. If you look at one of these, it won't render correctly because it's not UTF-8. It's not something that this little text editor that I'm using on Mac, text edit, renders correctly. This is supposed to look like this web page. So let me show you the web page. I'm just going to grab that URL, copy it, come over here, open up a new browser window, and go there. And so it should have this bit of Arabic in it, but it doesn't. I'll flip back over to that TXT file. And so yeah, that's definitely not Arabic. I don't know Arabic at all, but that's not Arabic script. I can tell that is not what I'm seeing here. Okay, and so this is supposed to be the Chinese sample file. This is what this is. Let me jump to that website real quick. So it's supposed to have this Chinese. I don't know Chinese, but I can tell that looks like Chinese to me. Chinese characters. I don't know what this says, but that's not what I see here. And let me show you one more. If I just double click on Danish here. Now this looks better. This looks more like what it should look like. I can come here and grab this URL, copy it, come over here, open a new browser window, paste it in. This is what it should look like. And it looks pretty good, but there are errors. Like this word that has an O with a dash through it. That's not what happened here. We got a dash. Okay, and there's another one of those, same thing here, and it didn't come through correctly. It did not come through correctly. It has a dash, a super dash, not an underscore. And this A with a little O, a little circle above it, that did not come through correctly either. And there's another one, the ash, the smashed together A and E, which we see right here in this word at the very end. It just came through as a capital E with a circumflex over. That's not correct. It should be a smashed together A and E, called ash in phonetics. Anyway, so that didn't come through. It looks pretty good because a lot of those characters are just ASCII characters, like things we use in English. So it came through correctly, but some of those are not coming through correctly. So anyway, all of these files won't come through correctly if you just double click on them and try and open them up. That's not Russian. I don't know Russian, but that doesn't look like Russian to me. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to use this module and specifically the detect function to have detect take a guess on what the character coding is. And then we'll use that guess to read in the file into Python and just print it and see, does it look better? Then when I double click on it, I just double clicked on it, right, for my Finder window. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is get char det on your computer. Okay. So if you know how to do pip install, you can do that. If you don't know what pip install is, then we can use PyCharm to get the package, get the module. Okay, so in PyCharm on Mac, you go up to the PyCharm menu item there on the top left, and you go to Preferences, like that. And you come up with this window here. It has a lot of different things going on in here. Now, to get to this window on Windows, a Windows computer within PyCharm, I think it's under File and then Settings. Once again, if you're using a Windows computer and you have PyCharm and you want to install this package with PyCharm on a Windows computer, I believe it's under File, Settings to get to this view where we have the preferences and the settings up. Okay, so on the left-hand side of this window, there is the sixth option down is project : and then name of project. And I call my project Sandbox. And so it says project : Sandbox. Whatever project name you gave should come after the colon there. So project : the name that you gave your project, right? And when I click on that, I have two options over here. Python interpreter is where I want to go. So I click on Python interpreter, the second option there. And it shows me the interpreter I'm using here, and then the modules that are installed with this interpreter. Okay, so I have it says 3.8, but it's actually 3.9. I don't know why it's mismatched there, but it's actually 3.9. If you look at the actual pathway on my computer. I already have it installed here, Chardet, but if it were not installed on a Mac version of PyCharm, you look for the plus sign down here. See that plus sign down at the bottom of the list? On Windows, I believe this plus sign is to the right, over here to the right of the list. And you click on the plus sign and you just type in, put your cursor up here in this box and just type in chardet. Okay, and it says universal encoding detector for Python 2 and 3. Yeah, 4.00, that looks good. Okay, nice. Then down here I say install packages. And then after a few seconds, it should say package chardet installed successfully. Good. You can close down this window and say okay here. Okay, so now we have it installed. And kind of one way to know if you have something installed correctly is just to try and import it. So if I say, hey, within a Python script, right, I'm in a py file. I'm in my chalkboard.py file, right? If I just say import chardet and then run the script, keyboard shortcut, enter, it didn't throw any error messages. Okay, if this were not installed, if I had a typo or something, or had something that didn't exist on my computer and I ran the script, it would throw an error and say, hey, I don't know where that module is. Module not found error. I don't see that module installed. But if it is installed, then it won't throw any errors. So that's one way of knowing that, okay, it's installed, it's accessing it correctly. Okay. Okay. So we're going to use the detect function within that chardet module to have it guess. Okay. So I will show you how to do that. I'll just go ahead and show you right away. If you like to pause the video now and try that yourself, see if you can make it work, that would be awesome. If you have no idea how to approach this, then here we go. Okay, so I will just grab a little bit of code here. And bring it over here. Okay, so yeah, after installing the chardet module that we just did with that plus sign in the other window, right? You'd import it. And then here, this is important. You need to read in the file as bytes. And the way you do that is within the open function, you say mode equals RB, between quotes there. Mode equals RB, which means read bytes. You save it as a variable name, colon, and then you can just call read on it, on that variable name that's holding the file object or the file handle. So I call it in file here, right? With open pathway to the first one, which is Arabic.txt within on my hard drive, mode equals RB as in file, colon, new line, indentation, some variable name. I'm going to call it whole file equals in file.read, open close parentheses. Okay. And then so whole file's holding the bytes. Then I throw those bytes into the chardet.detect function. I just print out the results. So let me run that. Keyboard shortcut, enter. And it prints out this stuff down here. It prints out what's called a dictionary. We'll see that in a couple lessons. It says the encoding, it thinks it is Max Cyrillic with a confidence of only 54%. It's only 54% confident. And it thinks it's Russian, but that's Arabic, right? It came from the website I just showed you a second ago. It came from this website. So anyway, it gave us this encoding. Okay, so we're going to grab this little bit of encoding and we're going to just read in the file as if we assume that the guess was correct. We'll just assume the guess is correct. And so I'm going to do with open file to pathway. In this case, I'm just doing a regular read, right? I don't need to write it because the default parameter for mode is just R, not RB, but R. And I say, I'm going to use this encoding because it thought the chardet detect function thought that it was Max Cyrillic. I'm just going to read it in, variable name, going to read it in and just print it out so I can look at it. So I'll rerun the whole script. And it prints out what it believes to be the text. Again, this is not looking like Arabic. To me, it's looking like Russian. It's looking like a Cyrillic alphabet, right? But that's not what it should have done. So I can tell that this did not work. I can tell that the guess, that char detect, this detect function, this guess here of Max Cyrillic was not good. Okay. So then at this point, like I say here, if the file still doesn't open or it doesn't open correctly, right, the characters don't look like they came in correctly, you can try a different encoding listed on the page at this doc page that we saw a second ago. I'll just click on it again. This documentation page. So you have a bunch of different languages. You can kind of scroll down. Here's one for Arabic. I'll just copy that CP 720. Come back over to Python and replace the Max Cyrillic with that CP 720 and just run the whole thing again, run the whole script, keyboard shortcut, enter. And okay, that's looking better. That is looking more Arabic, like that looks like some type of Arabic character. That stuff does too, but it still has this like triple lines here. These double lines there don't really look correct. I'm gonna jump over here. Again, I don't know Arabic, but I can tell that what it printed out over there is not looking right. It doesn't seem to be right. Okay. Okay. So got to keep going here. It comes down to trial and error sometimes. So I'm just going to search for the word Arabic on the web page. We just tried that one. Here's another one. I'll just give that one a try. Rerun the script. And what do we have? How does this look? This is looking more Arabic-like to me. You can just kind of compare here visually. Another thing you can do is just kind of grab some of the text. Like I'll just grab this amount of text right here, copy it, come over to the web page and say, hey, web page, do you have this text on you somewhere? And it doesn't seem to find it. Okay, so let me keep trying. Another Arabic. Try those two. Let's try this one. Okay, well, we got some E's in there. Accented E's from the Roman alphabet. And that's, I can tell that's not right now. Let me get another one. Okay, let's try this one. ISO 8859.6. We'll try. Okay, let's take a look. Let me just zoom in here. And that's looking Arabic-ish to me. I don't know Arabic again, but it's looking like what we have on this webpage. If I just zoom in a bit. It's looking like, and again, if I were to like just grab some of the text, copy it to the clipboard, jump over here, say, hey, webpage, do you have this? Yeah, I found it right there. Okay. Arabic reads from right to left, by the way. And so it's not, okay. So it looks like we have this here. I mean, it's looking like they're different like fonts, you know, like the difference between Times New Roman and Courier New and Arial. They're a little bit different style of writing, but it's still the same characters. I think that's what we have going on here. So I think this is going to be your best one for this one, for Arabic. Now you may think, okay, why isn't it more, you know, exact? Why isn't there a science, you know, exactly what it needs to be? I don't know of a way. It just depends on what, really depends on what encoding they happen to use. And if they don't tell you like, oh, this is this encoding, so make sure you pull it up with Python or a text processor or, you know, text editor with this specific encoding, you know, it comes down to trial and error a lot. And that tool can be useful, but sometimes it gets it wrong like it did with Arabic. And you just have to kind of go through trial and error with this list on this documentation page of all these character encodings. So let's try the next one, which is Chinese. Okay, so again, I'm gonna come back to my Python. If you wanna try it now, see if you can do it. Go ahead and stop the video and get this little bit of code working in your script and change your Arabic right here. This Arabic should now be Chinese, and it should point to the Chinese text on your hard drive. You should not copy my pathway, right? This pathway right here is specific to my computer. Okay, go ahead and try that and see if you can just work through the other six here, Chinese, and then the other 5 TXT files, and see if number one, the tool guesses correctly, and if not, if you have to go through trial and error, just trying different character encodings, try that. Okay, this is important to figure out how to deal with character encodings that aren't UTF-8. Okay, so pause the video and give this a try. Ready, set, pause. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look. Again, we're going to let this module and the specific function in it called detect try and take a guess on what the character encoding of this file is. So the first thing you do is you read in the file again with read, open, and then here we're doing mode equals RB to read bytes, save it as a variable name, and then we read in the whole file as a variable name, and then we throw that into or pass that into detect in the chardet module. And so I'm going to comment this out for the moment so it does not run. And we're just going to look at the output of what the guess is. Okay, so it says, I think the encoding is GB 2312. So I'm just going to take that suggestion or that guess immediately and go ahead and try to read in the file now with this little bit of code down here. And replace this encoding on line 13 with the one that it thought it was. And I'm going to rerun the whole script, keyboard shortcut, enter. And okay, that's looking like Chinese to me. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. I'm going to flip over to the website and just kind of compare real quick. So here's the website that I grabbed this text from. Looking up here. Now, I don't know Chinese, but it's looking like those are the same characters. I'm looking at the first 4 characters there. Those look good. Then we have this quotation thing using several different languages. And then we have this, and that is looking correct. Yeah, so it looks like that the guess that the tech function made was the accurate one. At least, you know, it was good enough to get this in correctly. And so that worked. Next one is Danish on the hard drive. So let me just show you real quick. Jump back over, looking at Danish, right? The website is this one. Sample Danish text. Once again, we only have 3 characters that don't exist in English, that is, aren't ASCII. That O with the diagonal slash, and A with a small circle above it, and then this ash vowel with A and E together. Okay, so if I say, hey, what do you think it is? Detect. Let me just comment out this little bit of code here because I don't want it to run just yet. I'll run the whole script again, keyboard shortcut, enter. Okay, it says, I think it's this character encoding, ISO 88591. So I'm just going to copy that, come over to my little bit of code over here. And on line 13, I'm going to replace what we had there before and put in the character encoding it thinks it is, and make sure it says Danish, not Chinese anymore. Run the whole script. And it's looking pretty Danish to me. There's an ash. There's an A with a small circle, make this bigger. A with a small circle. And there is our O with a diagonal slash through it. So that looks good, came through correctly. Russian. Let's try the Russian one. Let's say Russian. I'm going to comment this out for the moment. I'm doing a keyboard shortcut on commenting it out, and on Mac it's Command slash. On Windows I think it's Control slash. Okay, it says I think it's this encoding, so I'll just grab it and come down here. I'll uncomment that out now. This little bit of code I'll uncomment out. Go over to the right side of 13, plop in this encoding that it guessed, and run the whole script again. Oh, I'm still getting Danish. Okay, that's why. Let me change the Danish TXT to Russian TXT here. Rerun the script. All right, that's looking Russian to me. It's looking Cyrillic to me. I don't know Russian, but let me just click on the website I have there. Let's go look at this. Look at the very top here. I'm going to zoom in quite a bit here so we can compare this very closely. It's looking like it's the same. It's looking like it rendered correctly. I'm just kind of flipping back and forth, looking at AKT backwards N, AKT backwards N. Okay, good. BHO. Yeah, this is looking good. I'm just kind of visually quickly looking around, and yeah, it looks like it rendered correctly. So the guess that it made on the Russian one was correct. Good. Okay, let's keep rolling. Spanish. So this Spanish is not rendering accented vowels. This is inilámbrico, so that should be an accented A there. This is fácilmente, which should have an accented A as well, and it didn't come through correctly. It just has a dot. So that's not coming through correctly if I just double click on it. So apparently it's not UTF-8. So let's do the same process again. Comment that out so it doesn't run that little bit of code. Come over here, do Spanish text, run the code, see what guess it makes. It says, I think it's ISO 88591. And I will say, okay, fine. I will take that and put it right in here. My encoding argument, rerun the code, keyboard shortcut, enter. And I'm trying to read Russian in again. I got to make sure I update this file name. Oops, so daisy. I want to read Spanish in. Good, rerun that. And what do we have? Yeah, we have inalámbrico with an A there, accented A, fácilmente with accented A. Good, so there's a lot of ASCII characters, but there are a few accented vowels in Spanish that aren't part of the ASCII code. So that looks good. Good, so that was a good guess from the tool. Turkish. Let's try some Turkish. Let me come up here and say, I want Turkish. Turkish. And let me comment out this stuff down here just for the moment. We run the code. And it guesses the same one that we just used for Spanish, ISO 88591. Okay, so I'll say, okay, let's see what happens if I change Spanish TXT to Turkish TXT now. We run the whole script. And I have no idea, I do not know Turkish whatsoever. So I'm gonna click on this link here and look at what we have here. I'm just gonna look at the first couple words. There's an accent or an O with 2 dots, diéresis. And I'm just gonna zoom it in here. Yeah, I got that correctly. Let's take a look here. Okay, didn't quite get that G with a little diacritic on above it. It got this type of G, and that didn't come through correctly. So once again, what you do is you come back to this documentation page and search for other Turkish encodings. So here's one. I'll just go ahead and grab this encoding CP852. Come over here and put it in there, rerun the script. And that aired out. Okay, so that must not be it. Let's try another one they offer here. I just grab this CP1026, rerun the code. And that is not looking like what I just saw over in the website. That's not it. Let's try another one. How about this next one down? Okay, this is CP1254. Rerun the script. Okay, this is looking a little bit better. Yeah, we still got the O with 2 dots above it coming through correctly. Now we do have that G with the diacritic, the upside down little thing. I don't know the exact terminology for that specific diacritic. And that I there, let's jump back over to the web page here. Yeah, the I looks correct. It looks like almost like a number 1. And yeah, that's looking about right. And those look good. Okay, we have some U's with 2 dots above them. There's a U with 2 dots above them. Good. Here we have an S with a little tail thing. Good. So it looks like that encoding worked for this script, this Turkish script. Once again, all I did was it's just trial and error. If the tool doesn't give you the encoding that works, then you just got to go through and search that one page and just try them out until you find them. And I think we have one more here. I'll just do with you, Vietnamese. Okay, so let's try the Vietnamese one. Vietnamese, I'm going to comment out this other part down here for the moment and run the script. It's thinking it's ISO 88599. We've seen -1 quite a bit, a couple times now, 3 times, I think. But look at the confidence level. It's saying, I think it's this, but only at 23% confidence. So, well, let's try it. Let's go ahead and throw in this character encoding that it thought. Comment out these lines, rerun the code. And again, I keep forgetting to change the pathway to the file itself. Okay, what does this look like? Well, I don't know. I'm going to click on this link that I grabbed this from, the story of Ban and his Areca palm fan. Let me just look at the story down here, these few words. I can see that did not work, right? That does not look in like the first word. Second word does not look correct either. Nope, that did not work. Okay, so again, a little bit of trial and error. Just come into this website, just search for Vietnamese. There it is, Vietnamese. Let me just grab that little bit of that encoding that it thought it was, and come down here, change the encoding that we put in previously to that one, rerun the whole script. And I'm going to zoom in so we can see clearly. Okay, that's looking better. We have a band A with that kind of a circumflex. Let me get back to that website here. Yeah, okay. That's looking about right. Not quite this exact same, but I think it's pretty close. We got this O with a little hat thing with the dot below it. Yeah. E with a, is that a grave or acute accent? I can't remember which one is which at the moment. Yeah, so this looks like it worked. This encoding looked like it is the correct one for this text. Although, oh, I see what it's doing. We have like a little smile with an actual accent above it, and those are kind of getting scrunched together here in Python, but I think it's actually rendering it correctly. It's reading it in correctly. So that is how you deal with text files that don't render correctly, that don't bring in the characters correctly. If you're using English only, then you don't have to worry about this. This is like a non-issue for English, because all English characters are part of the ASCII, which is part of the UTF-8 massive list. Whereas some of these other things that have accents or dots or hats or stuff are not part of that little small part of what's called ASCII, which is English centric. And so that's when you have to start dealing with encoding issues. Okay, so that is how you deal with non-UTF-8 encoded. Basically, when you have a text file and you read it in and it's not coming through correctly, there's weird symbols where they shouldn't be, then you know you have a character encoding issue. And this is when this tool, this module and this function in it called detect can be useful. Okay, so that brings us to an end of lesson 6.1 on character encoding. See you next time.